Okay, so we left off on Davis Park, and most of you were getting through with the financial statements, and we were getting ready, and I wanted you to have the closing entries done, as well as the post-closing trial balance. So I'm going to leave up the balances here for a couple minutes for you to see how well you did. Or if you didn't get them done, to quickly jot them down. And as you're doing that, and you're making, what I also want you to be doing is practicing your post-closing trial balance. Remember, the post-closing trial balance is just a listing of all the accounts that are left. So it stops here at retained earnings because everything else is closed. Revenue, expenses, drawings. And all of these numbers simply just comes from the balance sheet, including the new retained earnings number. I'll leave this up for a minute or two. Of course, you should always do, if it helps you, to have a little brief income summary T account to keep track of how much you have in your income summary. So I had $310,000, $240,000, and of course this should match what you got on the income statement as net income. Always do your closing entries in order. That just helps keep so you don't forget. Revenue number 1, expenses 2, close out the income summary number 3, and then your dividends right to retained earnings number 4. Here's the little chart we had, the RED chart. The last item I'm going to expect from you on the test on Tuesday is being able to prepare this, I call it here the trial balance for next year, for January 1. You could call it December 31 post-closing trial balance. Same thing. Just the accounts and their balances of everything we have left. And of course, like every trial balance, showing that your debits equal your credits. That's one of the whole purposes of doing a trial balance. So whenever you do one, make sure you always total them. And then using these, you're going to start a new T account page for the new year. So we're going to go through. Cash starts out day 1 at $64,000. Just like if you were given a November 30th trial balance to do December entries. Same thing is going here. We're starting a new T account page for the next year. We're going to jump right into next year doing January 3rd entries. So I'm going to get my balances up to date, and you probably need to as well. of the new year. Just want to make sure that make sure you know that once you get down to here, you don't have to stop and know, what do I do next? Well, we just jump right back up to number 1 and 2 and do that for the rest of the year. Do all 7 steps again. The first two steps you do, like I said, every day. They're done every day. So on the first one, we come to receive payment from Madison County of $4,000. I'm just going to kind of just jump around the room a little at random. We'll start with, let's start with somebody probably not looking at me. That would be Grady. What did we get on the January 3rd?
We got cash.
Cash, yep. So what is our journal entry then? Debit to cash, credit to what?
To accounts receivable in Madison County.
Good. Credit to cash. Debit to cash, credit to your receivable. So I'm going to add that into my T accounts for the new year. I don't have any revenue T accounts or expenses, even though my spacing is not very good. The next one, paid our employees $7,000. Most of the work was done in December. All right, this is the hardest one out of all 5. Paid our employees $7,000. Most of the work was done in December. Okay, so I won't pick on just anybody on this one. I'm gonna pick carefully. Maria?
Well, I know it's credited from the cash.
Yep. True. How much?
7,000.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep, we definitely lost cash. Why? Why did I lose cash?
Because you paid your employees.
Yep. And so, what would I usually call that?
A wage expense.
Wage expense usually, but this one's a little different.
Yeah.
You see. So, it says most of the work was done in December. How much work was done in December? How much of the work was done in
Wait.
December but not paid?
9,000. Wait, no, that's no.
Okay, you're on the spot, so you don't think as clearly. I know, because I'm like that too. Somebody who's now had time to think about it, not on the spot.
6,000.
6,000, right here. Wages payable. This tells me that work was done in December. I already accounted for it, but I just haven't paid it yet. I no longer owe 6,000 anymore because I paid 7. So I need to show that that 6,000 is gone with a debit. And Maria said the credit was 7,000, and that's right, but we don't quite balance yet. And Jackie's going to tell us why. What are you working on over there?
The same thing that you guys are on.
So what do you think? If 6,000 was done last year and 7,000 was paid this year, what do you think that has to be then?
1,000
1,000 to what?
to.
Good. Wage expense. 7,000 was paid and 6,000 was done last year, so 1,000 was done this year work. And now my debits do in fact equal my credits. Okay, completed the task that was prepaid to us in December, worth 9,000. Brandon, what do you think?
If you debit unearned revenue, wouldn't you?
Yep, debit your unearned revenue. Good thinking there. Completed the task that was prepaid. This one was definitely prepaid to us because it's unearned still. It's no longer unearned. Debit it for 9,000 and credit what, Brandon?
Accounts payable?
Accounts payable. Okay, I owe them $9,000 for doing a job for them. That
No.
is-
Accounts payable?
Huh?
Accounts receivable?
Ah, they already paid me. How did I get this 9,000 back in December? They would have paid me cash, but I hadn't done the work, so I counted it as an unearned revenue. I've done the work. I've debited the unearned revenue and credit. JC?
Is it accounts payable?
Nope, that's what he said.
Service revenue?
Service revenue. Yeah.
This was the revenue.
I don't know why those three always confuse me.
Well, service revenue is just you do a job. You get the work's done.
So anytime you were already paid and then you do it later, the credit would always be to the service revenue?
Yep, whenever you do the job, your credit's service revenue.
Okay.
I don't care, if you got paid now or earlier, if you do the job, your credit's service revenue.
Okay.
If you were paid a long time ago, then your debit's gonna be here to unearned revenue,
And then the credit will always be service revenue?
always, when you do the job. Now, if you get paid for the job a month later, well, then you've already accounted for that service revenue last month, whenever that job was completed. You do this as soon as the job's done, not when payment's made. Because when payment's made, well, that could have came like this guy did. I did a job for him, $8,000 for Madison County. They finally ended up paying me some of that in cash for the job that I did. Okay, paid for advertising expense to run this month. Easy one. Easy one. What's the debit here? What did I get? Advertising, yep. Advertising expense. 2,000. Credit what, Chris?
Cash.
Cash. 2,000. And then finally, the last entry that we have, the owner took out 2,000 for personal use. And Diego, what do we take there as the debit?
Would you do it under accounts payable and take a credit cash? Or would that be under capital?
Yeah, it's not account payable because we don't owe anybody. What's it called when the owner takes money out themselves? Ann?
Would that be drawings?
Drawings. Yes.
And then owner's equity?
Well, that is in the
Oh, I'm
owner's
sorry.
equity for 2,000. So we debited the drawing account and credit cash.
Cash.
It's cash.
That was my next guess.
I hope it wasn't a guess. It was a for sure, right? If you can do at least those 5 entries, then there's no need for me to continue on for the rest of the month. And then what I would want you to do is do the next step. Maybe not necessarily prepare a trial balance, but you can. I tell you to do that. But at this case, you probably wouldn't in a normal company. But for sure, what I'd want you to do is make sure your accounting equation does balance. Put that on every one of your homework. If you don't have it, you get a -2 to start out. It's always worth about 2 points out of the assignment to your accounting equation balance. If not, why? If something ever doesn't balance, for example, you come up and you do a trial balance, and your 2 totals don't balance. Let's say your total here was 203,000, and this one was 197. Make sure you put on the exam, does not equal. That shows me that you at least know that they should equal, and then do an explanation down here explaining you went back through and re-added everything to find your mistake and you still can't find it, ran out of time or whatever it is, but that you went back and you knew that that should have equaled and you can't find any mistakes. That tells me that you just don't know any better. Same thing with the equation up here. If your assets equal 50,000, but this side over here equals 46, show me that you know that it doesn't equal. If you put 50,000 equals blah, 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 and all that equals 46, and you put a big equal sign there, that tells me you don't even know what you're doing. You're just adding numbers together. You're not even aware that they should equal. So I don't take off nearly as much points if you do show me that it doesn't equal. So as you go through it, if you add up all of your assets, you get cash. I know it's hard, I'm not having to write very big here, but 57,000 is what we got for cash, our total. The only other one to total is the account receivable to Madison County. But as I go through, I had 192,000 to the assets. And then you can see the other totals on the board of each T account heading. And my equation does balance, 192,000 on both sides. And my trial balance balances as well, 197. Total debits, credits. If any of you want this answer key, now down at the bottom, which you can't see, is where all the tabs are, so you can easily go back and forth and go balance sheet, income statement, closing entries. If any of you want this, all you need to do is just email me and I'll send it to you.